Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I'm just going to keep trying to let people in. I should have created it without the waiting room, but Steve looks like he's in a wine cellar.
Actually, in Dumbledore's
I
office.
keep trying to let people in. I should have created it without the waiting room, but all right. Let's see how many folks we got coming in here. This is great. So I've got this going out to YouTube right now, and I'm realizing that it is showing however I do my screen. It doesn't show the chat and so forth, but it does show, you know, the layout that I do. How's everyone doing? You all holding up all right?
Doing good.
Good, good. We'll wait maybe just another minute or two for more folks to come in, but we probably ought to just go around the horn and introduce ourselves and you know, what institution you're from, and then it's just open to any conversation. I didn't realize apparently NCHC hosted on Monday a guided discussion that folks registered for, but I was thinking more just I miss being with you guys, our SEC colleagues. We were supposed to be hosting them on campus, and we were sorry that didn't happen, although hopefully we can host it next year. We were all ready to go to the to a distillery for dinner. So anyway, we're getting folks in. Looks like a couple of us are in offices. Either that or JD just keeps the pop-up at home for this purpose. Hey,
Indeed, I did.
Hi.
I had to bring it home.
We've got like an 8-foot by 6-foot step and repeat that I thought about bringing for home just to sit behind me.
Yeah. No, we're locked out, so we're not allowed on campus.
Are you really? So that really is, you did bring that home for this, just this purpose.
Yeah. And I'm 10 feet away from my bar.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, welcome everybody. Why don't we just go around the horn, and what I'll do is based upon what I see on my screen, because it's different lineups. I think everybody has their actual names on the bottom, so that's great. Tara, I've got you in my upper left, so if you'll introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tara Williams. I'm the Dean at the Honors College at the University of Alabama.
Excellent. You may be. Jennifer.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Lee Sputz. I'm Assistant Vice Provost for Enrichment Programs and Director of Honors at the University of Connecticut.
Welcome. It's good to see you again, Jen.
You too.
JD, you're next on my screen.
Sorry. JD Bowers. I'm at the University of Missouri Honors College.
Very good. Steve?
Steve Lynn, South Carolina Honors College.
Excellent. Chris?
Chris Snyder, Dean of the Shackles Honors College at Mississippi State University.
Excellent. And is it Jyotsna? Did I get that right? Oh.
That's right. So I'm the director at the Southern Illinois University's honors program.
Excellent, Jyotsna. George, you're next on mine.
George Dunn, Director of Student Services for the Shackles Honors College at Mississippi State.
Excellent. Thank you, George. Heidi. Oh, I'm glad you made it, Heidi.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. Heidi Apple, Dean of the Honors College at the University of Toledo.
And I've got Mark Law next on my screen.
Hi, everybody. I'm the director at the University of Florida.
And Chapel.
Hi, everyone. Assistant Dean, South Carolina. Good to see you all.
And Sheila.
Hi, Sheila Pineras, Dean at University of Central Florida.
And then I have Anastasia as a non-video participant.
Hi, yeah, I'm Anastasia Elder. I'm from Mississippi State University. I'm an associate dean.
Great. Well, welcome everybody. I have no agenda other than just to kind of touch base. the time is sort of the middle of the day, so JD's bar notwithstanding, it's not quite a happy hour yet, I suppose. But there's, a lot of things are still going on with everyone, and we can start wherever you want to start. The one thing I've been thinking a lot about, some of you that I've known for a while, like Steve, know, I've been thinking about, can we really do honors online? And we've talked about it at Hiru many times, and I've always been, even though I've been a big proponent of online education, I've been pretty cynical about it. I admit our classes are going surprisingly well. So maybe we'll start there. How are your faculty doing? Whether it's, we've got a foundation course that all of our freshmen take, that's the main area, or honors versions of other courses. How's that going for y'all?
I'll speak up. Surprisingly well. But it's only because a mixture of asynchronous, because we can preserve some elements of the discussion with synchronous class. How are others doing?
So you broke up a bit for me. I don't know if it was for everybody, but you said, so it's a combination of asynchronous and synchronous, is that right?
Yes. And that's what works, because we can retain some element of, face-to-face discussion that way. It's never quite the same, but it's better than I thought it was going to be.
How about others?
I'd second that opinion. I think that's pretty much our experiences. One thing I'm hearing from faculty is they're finding it a lot more time consuming because they've got to write stuff out and put it in Canvas and in the e-learning platforms rather than, just show up and make an announcement kind of thing. That it takes a lot more planning and effort on the part of the faculty to do it right.
I would echo that too, surprisingly well. I've gotten one complaint from one parent, and I've seen a lot of really thoughtful changes made by faculty. For example, somebody is videoing his lectures in numbered segments of about 6 to 8 minutes per segment, and then having office hours during the class time. And the students can refer to the segment of the lecture to ask a question about it. I thought that was a smart way to do that. So I think, although the thought of online only classes in the fall is not appealing, and I don't know what students will do if some schools are open and others aren't. But I've been surprised by how well it has gone here.
I've been teaching my seminar synchronously, and it's going a lot better than I thought. We really need to see each other's faces. I think every one of my students has shown up for every class session, and when I don't even take attendance. So I feel like there's that need to connect. But like Christian, I've always been very skeptical that you can do honors online. I think we're the alternative in general to that. But when I came to a public land-grant university, I thought that maybe there's something in our mission that calls for us to have that option, especially in states with large rural populations, that there are some students that we need to reach in some capacity who just can't always be on campus, even before this crisis.
Yeah, I've often thought about that too, Chris. I take very seriously our land-grant mission and the challenges. And unfortunately, I think that's part of what I think we're probably all going to see in the fall. Well, my prediction is that we're going to see a very strong freshman class, maybe smaller, but it's going to be missing our students who are socioeconomically most at risk because their parents are without jobs and things like that. And unfortunately, they're the folks often who are most going to benefit from the education we can offer. And it's been this is unintended, but interesting to see. I think the next question is going to be, are we doing, where we're doing it well, our honors seminars, are we doing them well because they're honors? Is there anything particularly honors about the way we're doing them online? Or have we simply all managed to pull it together at the last minute and do something good, right? Yeah, Jen.
So one of the reasons I think we feel pretty fortunate right now, honestly, is that when we redesigned our curriculum several years ago, we constructed a theoretical model for honors. So that includes our pedagogy, it includes all of our components of honors. And so for us, this has really been about our why. And we're concentrating on the why of honors education, and then working with our faculty. You know, this is a place where we've been in touch with our Center for Teaching and Learning and saying, you know, if they're honors faculty asking questions, send them to us. You know, we can be your partners in this and focus on creative productivity and talent development. And what does that look like in a new environment? So it's more adjusting the what, but having our why really centralized and in place has been, I think, centering for all of us, you know, just getting back to the what it is. And a prime example of this is we made the decision early this week to move all of our summer research funding opportunities, all of those grants to virtual. We just didn't know what was going to happen. Our university has still not made a decision on summer 2 or opening up research. We too are closed, so we can't get on campus. But we made the decision, and when we were reaching out to those faculty mentors, we reminded them that what we're funding, what we're supporting is the learning. It's not the product. It's not whatever the research finds or the scholarship finds. It's the learning. And so we've asked folks when we're partnering them to think about, well, how do we guarantee that the learning happens? And what does that learning look like in the new environment? And let's work together on that and really be there as a resource for our faculty and our students.
Thank you. You know, we've got, we have 10 lecturers within the Honors College who teach this foundation course. And we really let them, whereas we try and keep the syllabus fairly common, 20% the faculty can choose for their own, but we want the students to be able to walk into the hallway and have a conversation. So there's common readings and 80% of the syllabus is in common. But when we went off campus, when we went virtual, we really allowed the faculty to try and find a level. And it's been interesting because we have about a third of our, it's almost a third. So a third of our faculty are purely asynchronous. They tend to be the faculty who are particularly concerned about the students who may not have decent internet access. I'm really proud of our institution. They've done a lot to make access available to our most rural and disadvantaged students. But about a third made it asynchronous just basically through Canvas. A third, they're not quite keeping all the time the same class, but they're really focused on using Zoom for in-class discussion, breakout groups. And then others, the remaining third are blend. What's interesting is when the faculty all come together, what I hear is them all sort of saying, yeah, my way is working fantastically. This is the way, if we ever have to do it again, my way is the way we ought to do it. And they're each seeing that. And I don't think that they're wrong that for some students that is a preferred way. When I think about the fall, and we can get into our own predictions later, but I feel like if we have to go forward again with, but this time with some more intentionality, I feel like I'm going to need to encourage our faculty to declare upfront one preferred mode or the other, because some students will do better in a synchronous or more of a Zoom chatty kind of context. Others will do better with asynchronous and primarily text and discussion based. But already there's some lessons I've learned that I'm doing a course on Ruth and Esther, the biblical books. It's my field. And I've already decided in Canvas, I'm going to have them answer some reflection questions on Canvas so that then when we come into class on Thursday, so what did you think of Robert's response to that prompt? And so they'll already have articulated their thought on it, and now they can begin to respond to one another. But anyway, learning, we know that people learn in different ways, and it feels to me like going online, if anything, narrows even further with the instructor choices, narrows even further that means of instruction. But maybe others have different views or experiences.
Yeah, I think, going to both Christian and Jennifer, actually the why of honors is something that we're struggling with here as well. When we're thinking of fall, I think on our campus as well, and I'm teaching a seminar this semester. Everybody's kind of pulled through because it is this crisis situation. So, you know, even faculty who would have never touched online have got on it. There's this sense of solidarity both among students and faculty at this point, which is pulling people together. And I think students see the work that faculty are putting in. They're showing up enthusiastically to classes. And so I think that's going to carry us through the semester, and we're almost to the end of it. But in fall, our whole conception of honors education is this holistic kind of interdisciplinary, crafting each student's individual path through a comprehensive research university. So what are we doing in terms of service, which, we completely stopped. And the sort of 20 hours a year was a requirement. And many of our students did way more than that because they were, integrating it with their academic work. And the others also how we're going to be able to continue to support them in interdisciplinary kind of investigations, where certain disciplines like forestry, for example, is really having to reinvent itself, these really place-based kind of work. So I think the summer is going to be a time to really be thinking, at least, Krishna, what you're saying about like how are we going to meet in fall? What are the students going to know when they come here? That's the sort of challenge, and I'm glad that we're all talking about it. And the whole residential model, so honors students have their own residence, and there was a lot of activity. We have speakers coming in, and all of that sort of stopped. And,
so what are you all doing to keep the students engaged? I've been really impressed with my department here, Jewish Studies and Classics. They've continued to have their guest speakers come in, and they do them via Zoom, and I've been really impressed with that. I confess, we went ahead and canceled most of our visitors. It didn't even occur to me to encourage our folks who are hosting it to put it online. How are you all staying engaged outside of the classroom with your students?
So we are doing what we call chatting over chai twice a week. It's just come hang out with the deans. And so we've had great attendance all throughout the semester, and the students requested that we continue to do it over the summer. And we're going to invite our prospective students to come and join us over the summer. We have kept speakers. We're doing virtual workshops. We're really trying to engage the students, help them take advantage of different things that they can do. We have a page called What Do I Do Now? All your plans have fallen through, so what do you do? And so we're bringing in different types of skills, things that we're 71, 75% STEM. And so we have industry partners who want our students to know certain skills. So we're inviting them to come and do workshops for us, and students are enrolling in them. So we're using Zoom, and we're just treating it like we're in one big classroom all together. And it's working really well so far. And so we've got students doing peer advising over the summer. So we're doing a lot of different things over the summer. And I think we're fortunate because UCF, for better or for worse, has always been known for its online component. They've been doing online since the late 90s. So our population is very well versed in synchronous, asynchronous learning. Almost every faculty member we have has at some point taught that way. So for us, the transition hasn't been that hard. The question will be, how will we move this through to the fall semester if we have to keep up the level of engagement that we have in honors? But we've been seeing a real thirst among our students to stay connected and to be a part of what we're doing.
Yeah, we've seen something similar. We have had an email newsletter that has gone out weekly for a long time, and our open rate on that was about 20% in the fall, and it's jumped up to close to 80%. So it's clear that the students are looking for a connection. So we've been making, similarly, a lot of use of our social media channels. And one of the things that we've been thinking about a lot is how to celebrate our graduates, who I think among all of our students are maybe most disappointed not to be on campus. So what can we do to make sure that we are still recognizing them, to make sure that they still feel like we are marking this important occasion and building a connection that's going to continue once they have moved past their time on campus in the more definite way than they have already. So that's been something that's been on our minds as well.
So what are you doing, Tara, for the graduating class? We're going to do a short video version of our medals ceremony.
Yeah, we thought about a few different options, and the university overall has invited them to come back, because I think many universities have, for a ceremony in summer or later if they're able to do that. Our students were very invested in their honors cords, so we're making sure that they get those honors cords, and then we're asking them to send us maybe videos of them opening the envelope or pictures of them wearing the cord so that we can post those online. And then we're going to do a video on the day of commencement where I'll say a little bit, and then we'll have as many people as possible from our faculty, staff, and alumni community who will just quickly say, you know, congratulations, or given where we are, roll tide, and try to celebrate the graduates in a way that makes them see that they're part of a community that's continuing on past this.
We're doing something very similar at UConn. We've got, so one of our traditions is that when students turn in their thesis, they ring a bell or hit a gong in the office and everyone stops and claps. And so we created some GIFs that students can use to post on their social media. And, you know, I rang the bell and here's your sticker that you can get to celebrate turning in your thesis and promoting that. And we too are doing a staff congratulatory video that will go on our university's virtual medal site, our virtual commencement site, to celebrate all of the commencements virtually. So the schools and colleges are all doing that. And then with the plans to be together in October, we've identified a weekend in October that the university is hoping is going to work for commencement, just hoping that we're all able to be back together. Our medals are unfortunately in the office, so we again can't get there and can't mail them out to anyone. So we've told students just to hold tight, and we're going to be sending them giant care packages, I think, with all of their awards and activity. Here's your medals and here's your stoles, and here are your pins, and they'll get something in the mail if they're not able to come celebrate. But we will have some version of medals in the fall prior to commencement, so students have their medals to wear at commencement. That's the plan anyway.
I took it to the provost and got permission to get the medallions out of our office so we could mail them out. So you might want to try and shoot that one up the chain. You might get permission for that one thing to recognize your graduates.
Yeah, that's the same here. I'm going late this afternoon to get them.
Yeah, we're on lockdown in Connecticut, so it's a little tricky, and frankly, it's I don't want to put my staff at risk either. So that's certainly something that we've thought long and hard about, and our students have been very understanding and supportive about it. They get it. Many of them haven't even picked up their commencement regalia yet, and they can't get into the bookstore to do that. So I think they're and the interesting thing is the students have really voiced to us that virtual's good and they appreciate it, but they want to be together in person, and they don't care when that is. They are really just feel strongly about the need to be in community with one another and celebrating this accomplishment together. So we feel like it's the best that we can do at this point, and like everyone else, we're looking forward to a future point where we can all be together again safely.
Oh, well, I'll tell you, I have a senior in my house. My daughter is a senior at Penn State in the Schreyer Honors College. They have the gong, and it's been a bonus because since I've been at Kentucky, they've obviously been back at Penn State. They came down for spring break and have stayed. But we got the cap and gown shipped here. I had an old Schreyer medallion here. So last week out on campus here at Kentucky, we took her out and did her graduation photos, but she's really missing all of the traditions and is really disappointed. And in fact, one of the interesting things is all of her friends were on a big chat, and they were right next to me. So I wasn't eavesdropping too badly, but they didn't mind the fact that Penn State was doing virtual things, but they didn't initially announce that they were also going to do something in person. And I think that's one of the key things. And I'll tell you, Kentucky, we have not yet announced what we're doing for May, which is only 2 weeks away. I mean, each unit has. But part of that is because what we have said is we will do something in person as soon as we can figure out what that date is. And our president has been really adamant, as we've talked about all this, that we're gonna do as well as we can to be a model on everything we're doing now. But this isn't our identity. UCF, there are plenty of good, outstanding schools who do have a tradition. Penn State actually has a great world campus tradition. That's not the University of Kentucky's model. And so we're trying to, maintain identity but at the same time recognize we've got to adapt and change.
So yeah, it's, Mississippi State, we're in the Honors College. We're definitely hosting our Honors Awards ceremony. We'll do a pre-recording this year as opposed to a live ceremony. Yeah. We'll recognize our outstanding students and our graduates. The university, fortunately, has said we're inviting any graduates for spring to our December commencement. So that's at least been announced, which is great. As far as our contact with students, I would say we're actually doing pretty well with that. We've had a release party for our Creative Arts Journal that had an outstanding attendance and lasted quite a while, actually, as a result of that attendance. We're hosting our information sessions for prestigious awards and scholarships and fellowships, and we're seeing great numbers with those. We're doing those weekly. And then a few of us are also doing, I don't know if any of y'all have moved to pass-fail options, but we're doing some information sessions that students are attending. Just kind of, hey, if you're looking at med school or law school or graduate school, just keep these things in mind, and students are very much interested. One thing we decided to do is I gave our Instagram to our students for this week, just so they can experience with each other what the day-to-day in this new normal looks like to them, and they can share that experience. And our engagement has just skyrocketed on social media as a result. So our students are engaging with each other and with us, and I think it's just been, we're doing the best we can with the scenario.
Mm-hmm. We had, like Tara, our newsletters really become very popular, and we're carrying out a series in it, it's called Window to My World, and students are just submitting images of windows and with some text explaining what that is, or writing poetry. That seems to have worked, and then people just reflecting on what this is. So we're calling it a journal of this time. So thinking about it as, an archive that you're creating. We did have a plan for a senior banquet, which was the first time we were going to do it. And now, sort of that's kind of not possible, but we're exploring certain other ideas. So we have about 100 students graduating with honors. So we were thinking maybe like a large Zoom like this, but three days, so 30 students at each time, and we just sort of raise a toast to each other. And at least that way you just see who your cohort is. Our thesis students are presenting over Zoom, and it's open to people to, it's public.
Yeah, this is Anastasia. We just finished up our thesis defenses, and they were all done through the virtual portals sponsored by the university, like WebEx or Zoom. And they went really well. And we just had to be maintaining a lot of communication with the students about setting that up and how to set it up, and letting us know their links so that we can post them and that they would be public. But I think that they went very well, and both students and mentors were happy with the adjustment that we all had to move towards.
Yeah, I know that we have a couple of folks who are going to join us, including Doug, who can't because they've got defense going on right now as it is. So I wondered about recruitment. I don't know how plugged in everybody is to university-wide. Things are all over the place. I'll lay my cards on the table right up front. I feel like there's a lot of data without a whole lot of context. I mean, we've got all sorts of data points we can look at, but we really don't know what we're doing with it. So some of our folks are predicting incredibly low enrollments. As I suggested earlier, I suspect what we'll see is a demographic shift, and so on and so forth. But I just wondered and we've got a number of initiatives and activities we're doing virtually to remain engaged with folks, including a weekly Instagram that I send out, the quarantine question of the day. But I wonder what you all are doing to keep engaged with prospective students and keep recruitment events rolling.
Well, we've been running virtual admission sessions for prospective students weekly now they're scheduled through at least midway. I'm running even longer. And we have about 50 students show up each time.
Yeah, in some ways, our virtual sessions have been a success. I'm going to keep doing them next year. We've reached a lot more of our out-of-state students. We've reached a lot more of our lower socioeconomic students that, wouldn't normally have been able to come to campus for a visit, that, suddenly now can get a whole lot of information and connect with current students in a way that wasn't possible before we did virtual. So I don't think anything will totally replace the online come to campus and see it kind of experience, but I'm certainly intending when we get back to normal to do a bunch of virtual ones for those students where that's really difficult. They've worked pretty well for us, I would say.
Yeah, we've done very similar things. We had Honors Husky Hangouts, which were really just mostly students or staff hangouts that were just come ask your questions, that we had really great attendance at. We did some more formal presentations with Q&A features, and we had staff who were popping questions to other staff members depending on who the best person was to answer. And so people were actually typing in the Q&A as well as verbally answering things throughout the presentation, and that worked really well. The thing that we did that we haven't done that's not typically a focus is I did a session for honors parents this past week, Tuesday night, and there were somewhere between 350 and 380 parents online. And I think they asked about 150 questions.
And how did you do that? Did you use Zoom or?
So we're a WebEx campus. So we use WebEx, and we hosted a WebEx event. So what we did was we turned off the chat feature. We automatically muted everyone's mics coming in, and put on the Q&A feature. And you can have hosts and panelists. You can have up to 10,000 people attend a WebEx event, which is different than a meeting. It was an event. And so we knew we had plenty of capacity in terms of getting people online. And then when questions were coming in, you can literally assign them. So the person who's in charge of the Q&A can say, okay, our STEM Scholar advisor needs to answer this question about STEM scholars. And here's a question about residence halls, and that needs to go to our assistant director for programming and residential life. And so those folks had a queue of questions that they weren't on the video. It was mostly me on the video, unless I was throwing it to one of them to answer some things verbally. And it went really well. We were able to record it. So actually it should be up on our website by tomorrow, the entire session plus the transcript of all the Q&A. So people can come back and, if they missed it or if they want to go back and say, there were times where we were like putting websites directly into the Q&A. So if you want to come back later and be able to look at that and just click on the link, that was option. So we did the very same thing for the student sessions that we did, the student sessions. We had some fun technical difficulties, like WebEx shut down on the East Coast for one of them. And on another, we had power outages. So 2 of us who were hosting had no power at our homes, and so we had to cancel that one. So, you know, I mean, in the when it rains, it pours category, there were things that didn't go according to plan, but that worked really well for us. And we've gotten lots of comments and feedback about, you know, people being happy that they can go back, they can watch it again if they couldn't make it. We did all of these in the evening as well. So that was just something that as a staff, we signed on to do. So they were either at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. so that students and parents would be past whatever their kind of school day or work responsibilities would be, and had some time to devote to getting questions asked. It's normally, you know, normally I do a parent session alongside orientation, but we felt like as a staff that there's just so many questions right now for everyone, and doing more than we normally do. You know, to Mark's point, like we wouldn't normally do this, but you know, it may be something that we keep up in the future, because certainly we saw students, you know, from out of state who were able to ask questions, and students who've never been to campus were able to ask questions, and they, you know, students certainly who might not have that opportunity, I think, you know, it leveled the playing field a little bit.
So yeah, we've teamed up. We've teamed up with our admissions office to use our CRM. It has a webinar feature built in. So we're not using Zoom, we're not using WebEx for those. It's an actual sponsored webinar that we do 3 times a week at 11 o'clock, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We started doing that last week, and we've had increased interest for each one as people are aware that Honors is doing these. I think we're going to continue this in the fall, like others, just to reach those out-of-state students, especially. And then in terms of incoming freshmen, or hopefully incoming freshmen, we've got a separate e-newsletter going out to them from the Honors traditional newsletter.
Great. Well, yeah, when I was at Penn State, so it was 6 years or so ago now, we started doing at least one YouTube live event where we would actually, I think we used Adobe Connect initially, and we would get 100 or so parents in the recruitment phase. So that's where we would bring housing folks, financial aid folks in, and we would be able to answer all their questions and so forth. You know, I'm going to just, this has been a good experiment. We have a couple of folks watching on YouTube, but I'm going to stop the YouTube live stream here. And then I thought we might want to just chat amongst ourselves about things like APLU and other things going on in our